Breaking down the Allen Robinson trade next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers here with Heath Cummings, and we're going to talk some Dynasty tight end, buy, sell, or hold. But first, let's talk about I don't know if it counts as big news anymore, but Allen Robinson was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Tuesday afternoon. I think the fact that the Rams moved up 17 spots in the 7th round to give up Allen Robinson probably tells you what teams are expecting from Allen Robinson at this point. And Heath, I'm going to guess you don't think this has much impact on the Steelers offense.
I have already moved Allen Robinson into my Steelers projections. It did not change the projections for Diontae Johnson or George Pickens. I think Allen Robinson is a number 3 wide receiver in the NFL at best at this point in his career. He has been, over the last 2 seasons, extremely bad at both earning targets and turning targets into yards and fantasy points. And one of the things I think we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years is that, for the most part, when you get a wide receiver approaching 30 that looks like he's cooked, you should just believe that he's cooked. And like you said, they moved up 17 spots. They also paid 2/3 of his salary to send him away. So they basically got $5 million of salary relief and moved up half a round in the 7th round.
Yeah, and the Steelers, I think, are in a spot where they could basically cut Allen Robinson in training camp if he doesn't look good, and it would cost them nothing on the cap. So it's also just a very, very cheap flyer here. But, it's probably better than whichever number 3 wide receiver the Steelers had on their roster. They didn't really throw to their number 3 wide receivers last year. This is an offense that I kind of think I'm just going to avoid. And if anything, this makes me a little more likely to avoid them, but I don't really think it changes much anyway.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether you expect Kenny Pickett to get better.
Yeah.
As a second-year quarterback, I would expect some improvement. I'd expect some improvement from George Pickens. I'm not sure that Pickens can ever earn targets like he's going to need to be as good as he's supposed to be in the NFL. But I've got quite a bit of hope for a bounce back from Diontae Johnson. I think he'll be a top 30 wide receiver. I like Pat Freiermuth as a top 10 tight end. That's about the only parts of the offense I want.
Let's move on to some of the tight ends that we're talking about from a dynasty perspective, and we'll start with Pat Freiermuth. Buy, sell, or hold Pat Freiermuth right now?
100% buying. I thought he took a big step forward in his second year. It was kind of hidden by the fact that his touchdown luck was just as bad in year 2 as it was good in year 1. But I think that will probably all balance out. We always talk about how if you want to break out tight end, search for someone who can be first or second on his team in targets. He was second on his team in targets last year, despite the fact that he played fewer games than George Pickens. I think Pickens takes a step forward, but I still think there's a pretty good chance Freiermuth's number 2 on this team in targets, especially in the red zone. Big time bounce back from him in the touchdown department this year.
And you've got Freiermuth as your number 6 tight end in Dynasty right now. Number 4 is TJ Hawkinson. How are you viewing him as far as the stock? Or buy, sell, or hold here?
I am probably hold. I think there's probably more people who are excited about Hawkinson than I am. But number 4 tight end, he's going to be someone who I would expect over the next 5 years finishes pretty consistently in that tight end 3 to tight end 8 range. I'd be really surprised if he has one of those top 1 or 2 real difference maker seasons. But I do think that there's some value in having a guy that's an above average starter. And I would expect he'll be that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that there are difference makers, Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. Travis Kelce obviously is going to be 34 in October, I believe. So there are real concerns about how to value him for Dynasty. Then you got Mark Andrews, definite difference maker. He's 27 years old. Kyle Pitts, we think, will develop into a difference maker, but right now, I mean, we'd take being an average starter in 2023 from Kyle Pitts. I mean, how many true difference makers are there at the tight end position when you're thinking about Dynasty? And do you think this rookie class, this is considered to be a very, very good rookie class for tight ends, do you think that might change the picture at all?
I think it might change the picture, but if it's like most rookie classes, it's not going to change the picture for 2 or 3 years from now. And so I'm mostly just avoiding those guys. Like, if one happens to fall into the late 2nd round, I'd be pretty interested, but I'm not going to use a rookie pick of my top 18 on one of the rookie tight ends. They just take too long to mean anything.
All right, that's going to do it for FFT and 5, talking about our Dynasty tight end outlooks. We'll be back tomorrow to talk AFC West draft needs. We'll talk NFC West draft needs after that. And we got the NFL draft next week, so we'll have a bunch more coverage for you then. We'll see you then.